In this video, I'm about to reveal 40 hot chocolate brands that are full of heavy metals and chemicals and exactly why they're worth avoiding, plus 10 clean, safe, and genuinely better hot chocolate options that actually respect your health. Starting with number 40, Swiss Miss. Swiss Miss is the childhood classic everyone remembers, but behind that cozy blue packet is a long list of concerns. A 2022 consumer lab analysis found that certain cocoa powders contain elevated levels of cadmium, a heavy metal linked to kidney strain, bone density loss, and long-term neurological stress. Swiss Miss also uses alkalized cocoa, a process known as Dutching, which reduces antioxidant content while leaving behind the potential for heavy metal concentration. Ingredient-wise, Swiss Miss relies heavily on corn syrup solids, processed dairy powders, artificial flavors, and additives like carrageenan, which some studies associate with gut inflammation in sensitive individuals. Research from the Journal of Toxicology highlighted that carrageenan can trigger cellular irritation, especially when consumed regularly. Many Swiss Miss blends also include partially hydrogenated oils in older versions and acidity regulators that offer little nutritional value. The result is a mix that delivers sweetness and nostalgia, but also exposes drinkers to unnecessary chemicals, fillers, and potential heavy metal residues. Number 39. Nestlé Hot Chocolate. Nestlé is one of the biggest names in the cocoa industry, but big doesn't always mean better. A 2023 report examining global cocoa supply chains noted that several Nestlé cocoa products contained measurable levels of cadmium and lead, the two most concerning heavy metals found in processed cocoa. These metals accumulate in the body and may impact cognitive function and kidney health over time, especially in children. Nestlé hot chocolate mixes frequently contain sodium caseinate, corn syrup solids, artificial flavors, and stabilizers designed to improve shelf life rather than nourish your body. Independent food science reviews highlight that the brand's formulations rely on low-grade cocoa powder, which is more likely to contain trace contaminants due to soil sourcing and bulk processing. Additives, such as mono and diglycerides, emulsifiers, and sweeteners, contribute to what researchers call an ultra-processed matrix, which studies in public health nutrition link to increased inflammation, cravings, and metabolic strain. Number 38. Hershey's Hot Cocoa Mix. Hershey's has iconic chocolate branding, but its hot cocoa mix is far from clean. Multiple food safety investigations have pointed out that cocoa powders sourced from West Africa, including Hershey's supply line, often contain elevated cadmium levels due to volcanic soil. A 2020 study in environmental research identified Hershey's cocoa powder among those with notably high heavy metal detections when compared with cleaner, premium brands. Ingredient quality raises more concerns. The mix contains alkalized cocoa, processed sugar, artificial flavor, and stabilizers intended to create a chocolatey taste without using much actual cocoa. This means fewer antioxidants and more synthetic compounds. Some blends include sodium aluminates and thickeners that offer no health benefit and may contribute to digestive irritation in those with sensitive stomachs. While Hershey's may give you that familiar chocolate smell, the combination of heavy metal exposure risk, low-quality cocoa, and synthetic ingredients makes it a cup best avoided for regular drinking. Number 37. Great Value Hot Cocoa. Great Value Hot Cocoa may appear budget-friendly, but its ingredient profile reads more like a chemistry set. Multiple consumer-led heavy metal screenings published in 2022 and 2023 revealed that discount cocoa mixes often contain the highest concentrations of cadmium, largely due to lower-grade cocoa sourcing. Great Value falls squarely into that category. The formula typically includes corn syrup solids, hydrogenated vegetable oil, artificial flavors, and anti-caking agents that extend shelf life but may burden digestion. A 2018 Journal of Food Additives and Contaminants review linked frequent exposure to these artificial sweeteners and emulsifiers with altered gut microbiota and metabolic disruption. Because the blend uses cheaply processed cocoa, the likelihood of soil-derived contaminants, including trace lead, increases. While not every batch is tested publicly, the risk profile mirrors other low-cost store-brand cocos known for inconsistent quality control. Number 36. Market Pantry Hot Cocoa. Market Pantry looks clean and friendly on the outside, but the ingredient deck tells a very different story. Target's budget cocoa mix relies on alkalized, low-grade cocoa, the type most frequently identified in heavy metal screenings for elevated cadmium and lead levels. A 2022 Consumer Lab comparison found that bargain cocoa brands using Dutch processed cocoa tend to contain higher heavy metal residues because alkalization reduces acidity but concentrates soil-derived contaminants. The mix also includes corn syrup solids, synthetic flavorings, and maltodextrin, all of which contribute to quick blood sugar spikes without offering any real nutritional benefit. Several food science studies, including Appetite 202-1, link maltodextrin to glucose instability and increased appetite signals. Market pantry hot cocoa often uses processed dairy powders, thickeners, and emulsifiers like mono and diglycerides, which make the mix dissolve more easily but also increase the ultra-processed profile of the drink. For individuals sensitive to additives, these blends can trigger bloating, headaches, or digestive discomfort. Warm cup? Yes. Clean cup? Not quite. Number 35. Kroger Hot Cocoa. Kroger's store-brand cocoa is cheap, convenient, and heavily processed. Like many budget cocoa powders, it frequently uses cocoa from regions linked to naturally high cadmium soil levels, and heavy metal tests published by Clean Label Project consistently show that store-brand cocoa powders rank among the highest in cadmium accumulation. Even small daily servings can contribute to long-term kidney strain, especially in children. Kroger's formulation leans on sugar-heavy blends, artificial flavors, corn syrup, and stabilizers to replicate a chocolate taste without using much real cocoa. A 2019 food formulation review in Critical Reviews in Food Science noted that cocoa mixes using artificial chocolate flavor often contain ethyl vanillin, a synthetic compound linked to headaches and gut irritation in sensitive individuals. The presence of hydrogenated fats and anti-caking agents only adds to the chemical load. The mix may taste comforting, but its nutrient profile and potential heavy metal presence make it a hot chocolate best, used sparingly or not at all. Number 34. Signature Select Hot Cocoa. Signature Select is a common choice across multiple grocery chains, but its cocoa formula raises several red flags. The brand uses alkalized cocoa, which food chemists warn can reduce antioxidant levels by up to 60% while concentrating certain metals in the drying and pressing stages. A 2021 Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry analysis confirmed that Dutch processed cocoa powders consistently show higher cadmium density per gram than natural cocoa. Signature Select's ingredient list also relies heavily on artificial flavors, corn syrup solids, and additives such as sodium silicoaluminate, an anti-caking agent associated with digestive sensitivity and classified as a potential irritant in high doses. To deliver creaminess, the mix often includes partially hydrogenated fats, or palm-based creamers, that provide mouthfeel but no nutrient value. Ultra-processed formulations like this were linked in a 2022 BMJ meta-analysis to increased inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. Number 33. Safeway Hot Cocoa. Safeway's store-brand hot cocoa looks simple, but the manufacturing shortcuts tell a different story. Heavy metal screenings of low-cost cocoa mixes repeatedly show that mass-produced grocery chain brands often pull from the same low-grade cocoa suppliers, typically from regions where cadmium-rich volcanic soil is common. Safeway fits that pattern, making it a potential source of heavy metal exposure in frequent drinkers. The blend relies heavily on corn syrup solids, acid regulators, artificial flavors, and processed dairy powders. Artificial chocolate flavorings in these mixes often include synthetic aromatics, identified in a 2020 food chemistry review as compounds that may irritate sensitive digestive systems. Safeway hot cocoa also uses emulsifiers such as polysorbate 60, which several gut health studies, notably from Nature 2015, suggest may disrupt intestinal microbiota when consumed regularly as part of ultra-processed foods. Number 32. Publix Hot Cocoa Mix. Publix Hot Cocoa Mix looks simple, but one of the biggest concerns is sugar load and insulin impact, not just cocoa quality. A 2022 American Journal of Clinical Nutrition study found that hot cocoa mixes with high glycemic sweeteners can spike blood sugar faster than soda, especially when combined with powdered dairy. Publix uses fast-digesting sugars and dehydrated milk solids, a combination that creates a double glucose surge, putting stress on the pancreas, especially in children. Another overlooked issue is packaging migration. Publix cocoa comes in laminated foil-lined packets that, when stored in warm warehouses, can leach phthalates into powdered mixes. A 2023 packaging safety analysis by Environmental Health Perspectives detected phthalate migration in several store-brand powdered beverages stored at high temperatures. Though brands were not named, Publix uses the same multi-layer packaging category. Number 31. Aldi Beaumont Hot Cocoa. Aldi's Beaumont Hot Cocoa stands out for a different reason: microbial contamination risk in ultra-low-cost cocoa powders. A 2020 food safety audit conducted on discount European cocoa products, including private label imports similar to Aldi's suppliers, detected elevated aerobic plate counts and thermoresistant spores, indicating inadequate roasting controls. These aren't usually deadly, but they reduce shelf stability, increase spoilage odors, and can trigger stomach discomfort in sensitive consumers. Another angle: flavor chemistry shortcuts. Beaumont relies heavily on spray-dried, chocolate-type aromatic synthetic compounds created through Maillard reactions using sugar, ammonia, and heat. A 2019 food chemistry paper documented that these imitation cocoa aromatics often contain trace pyrazines and furans, chemicals that enhance aroma but may irritate the gastrointestinal lining in regular consumers. Pair that with high-solubility modifiers and fat replacers that mimic creaminess but degrade under heat, and you get a cup that tastes strong but is built from lab-constructed chocolate notes rather than real cocoa integrity. Number 30. Trader Joe's Hot Cocoa Mix. Trader Joe's branding feels clean, but its hot cocoa mix has a very different issue: high oxalate load. A 2021 clinical nephrology study showed that heavily processed cocoa powders, especially those sourced from South America, can carry oxalate densities high enough to contribute to kidney stone formation in sensitive individuals. Trader Joe's frequently sources premium cocoa from Peru and Ecuador, which naturally tests higher in oxalate content due to local growing conditions. Another overlooked issue is added natural flavors, which sound safer but often come from solvent-extracted botanical distillates. According to a 2020 GRAS panel review, some natural flavor solvents can leave trace residues that are harmless for most people but irritating for those with fragrance sensitivities. Number 29. Members Mark Hot Cocoa. Members Mark Hot Cocoa raises concerns primarily due to bulk batch blending practices. Warehouse brands often combine cocoa from multiple countries into massive industrial silos. A 2023 International Cocoa Sustainability Audit found that such blending processes increase the presence of pesticide residue mixtures, especially neonicotinoids, which persist in dry powders and withstand roasting. These pesticide cocktails don't appear in recall records, but have been linked in toxicology studies to thyroid disruption and reduced metabolic efficiency in high-exposure scenarios. Another distinct issue is anti-foaming agents that appear in commercial beverage mixes to prevent clumping in vats. Members Mark uses silicone-based defoamers, which the FDA classifies as safe. Still, a 2018 Copenhagen study noted that chronic exposure to silicone residues in powdered drinks can cause gastric irritation in people with sensitive digestion. Number 28. Kirkland Hot Cocoa Mix. Costco's Kirkland Hot Cocoa Mix markets itself as rich and creamy, but the real concern begins with its protein extenders. Instead of relying on natural cocoa fats, Kirkland frequently mixes whey permeate, a dairy industry byproduct that contains lactose concentrates processed through membrane filtration. A 2020 Dairy Science and Technology review found that permeate-heavy beverages create rapid gastric emptying, which can cause bloating, diarrhea, and sharp sugar spikes in sensitive individuals. Another unique issue: oversized serving bags stored in humid, temperature-fluctuating warehouses. When powdered mixes absorb moisture, even slightly, they experience Maillard browning inside the package. This reaction forms acrylamide, a compound classified as a potential carcinogen by the European Food Safety Authority. Bulk bags of cocoa mixes are particularly prone to this slow chemical shift. Kirkland's cocoa also contains flow conditioners that prevent clumping in 2 to 5 p-pound bags. These compounds, such as calcium phosphate blends, were highlighted in a 2022 food processing study for contributing to gritty texture and mineral imbalance in frequent consumers. Number 27. Ghirardelli Hot Cocoa. Ghirardelli sounds like luxury, but their regular sweetened hot cocoa line tells a different story from their premium chocolate bars. This mix often combines alkalized cocoa with high fructose sugar blends, a pairing known to amplify what researchers call cocoa aroma suppression. A 2020 food biophysics study found that alkalization plus heavy sweetening reduces volatile chocolate compounds by up to 85%, meaning the mix tastes rich but contains far fewer natural antioxidants. More concerning is Ghirardelli's use of refined lecithin fractions extracted via hexane solvents. While the solvent residues are low, a 2019 toxicity evaluation documented that chronic exposure to hexane-processed emulsifiers may contribute to low-grade inflammation in sensitive individuals. Finally, Ghirardelli imports part of its cocoa supply from regions flagged in a 2022 European Commission report for pesticide residue inconsistencies tied to improper post-harvest storage. Though not tied to recalls, it raises legitimate concerns about what's hiding beneath the premium branding. Number 26. Land O'Lakes Cocoa Classics. Land O'Lakes Cocoa Classics is famous for its cafe-style flavors, but the biggest issue here is synthetic cream chemistry. These mixes rely on non-dairy creamers that aren't just substitutes. They're ultra-processed combinations of caseinates, glucose syrup solids, dipotassium phosphate, and hydrogenated fats. A 2021 Journal of Gastroenterology research analysis showed that these creamers can impair fat digestion and elevate inflammatory markers in frequent users. Another distinctive risk is the brand's flavored variants. Land O'Lakes uses aroma encapsulation technology, where flavor oil, such as mint, caramel, raspberry, etc., is encapsulated in modified starch. A 2020 encapsulation review documented that these microcapsules sometimes rupture unevenly, leading to pockets of concentrated flavor chemicals, a common source of headaches, throat irritation, and sensitivity reactions. Number 25. Abuelita, Mexican-style hot chocolate. Abuelita is nostalgic for many families, but the formula raises serious concerns beyond typical cocoa issues. A 2023 investigation into Latin American chocolate tablet brands found that several products in this category contained detectable aflatoxin residues, a toxin produced during improper storage of cacao beans. Though Abuelita was not named directly, Nestlé sources part of its Abuelita supply chain from the same storage regions highlighted in the report. Abuelita also uses synthetic cinnamon flavor, not real cinnamon. These compounds belong to the cinnamaldehyde analog family, which a 2018 toxicology study linked to oral irritation, enamel sensitivity, and mucosal drying when consumed in concentrated powdered beverages. Another overlooked factor. Abuelita's famous tablet format requires melting, and tests performed by independent consumers have shown that the tablet contains steric stabilizers and paraffin-like wax fractions to maintain its solid shape. These waxes are food grade, but they lower digestibility and can leave fatty residues in the stomach. Number 24. Stevens Hot Cocoa. Stevens markets itself as a gourmet cocoa, but the biggest problem isn't metals or sugar, it's fat composition manipulation. Many Stevens blends use intrasterified fats, artificially rearranged triglycerides designed to mimic cocoa butter at a lower cost. A 2020 nutrition and metabolism study found that intrasterified fats can interfere with insulin signaling and produce post-meal inflammatory spikes, especially when paired with high sugar mixes like hot cocoa. Stevens also uses high aroma cocoa fractions, which are processed through repeated roasting steps. A 2022 food engineering review paper showed that double-roasted cocoa can develop elevated polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon residue compounds that form when cocoa nibs heat unevenly. These aren't always high enough for recalls, but they do contribute to unnecessary toxin exposure. The brand's creamy mouthfeel comes from whipping agents like sodium caseinate and modified cellulose, which expand under heat. These agents were flagged in a 2019 digestive health panel for causing bloating and upper GI pressure in sensitive individuals. Number 23. Big Y Hot Cocoa. Big Y Hot Cocoa stands out for one specific issue: extreme batching variability. Regional brands like Big Y often outsource production to multiple contract manufacturers. A 2021 regional manufacturing audit found that such products show large swings in cocoa alkalinity, sugar ratios, and additive levels. This inconsistency can trigger migraines, digestive reactions, or blood sugar spikes, depending on which factory produced your batch. A second concern is anti-caking silica blends. Big Y frequently uses sodium silicate-based flow enhancers, which a 2020 processing materials evaluation linked to esophageal irritation in powdered beverage consumers. While still within legal limits, their concentration is notably higher in regional low-cost mixes. Finally, sensory scientists have noted that Big Y relies on aroma rebuilding, where synthetic chocolate volatiles are blended to compensate for very low cocoa mass. These volatiles oxidize faster in storage, creating harsh, metallic-tasting notes and potentially irritating sensitive airways. Number 22. Winco Hot Cocoa. Winco Hot Cocoa's dominant issue is mineral imbalance caused by its fortification system. The brand uses bulk-added mineral premixes to make the product appear more nutritious. Still, a 2022 Journal of Food Quality study found that poorly homogenized mineral mixes can produce localized mineral pockets in powdered drinks. These pockets may contain excess iron or magnesium, which can irritate the stomach or cause nausea when dissolved unevenly. Another unique concern is the use of low-grade alkalizing agents sourced from bulk suppliers. These agents were flagged by a 2021 food chemistry audit for carrying trace aluminum residues. Not enough for a recall, but enough to raise concerns about neurological load with frequent consumption. Winco's cocoa also uses economy-grade spray-dried dairy, which often has higher levels of oxidized cholesterol due to prolonged heat exposure. According to a 2019 lipid research study, oxidized cholesterol can contribute to vascular stress when consumed regularly. Number 21. Piggly Wiggly Hot Cocoa. Piggly Wiggly Hot Cocoa has a unique red flag: shelf stability enhancers designed for small-town inventory cycles. Rural chains sometimes require longer storage periods, so manufacturers add EDTA-based stabilizers to prevent fat separation and color fading. A 2020 toxicology review showed that certain EDTA derivatives can increase intestinal permeability when consumed chronically. Another issue is old-style cocoa deodorization, a process that removes harsh fermentation notes but also strips beneficial flavanols. Manufacturers then add reconstructed chocolate aroma, which typically contains thermal reaction compounds like furfuryl alcohol. A 2022 inhalation tox study noted that furfuryl alcohol vapors can irritate the airways when hot beverages release steam. Number 20. Giant Eagle Hot Cocoa. Giant Eagle Hot Cocoa looks harmless, but one of the biggest issues hiding inside the mix is its sodium-heavy buffering system. Many supermarket brands use sodium bicarbonate and sodium phosphate blends to keep the cocoa from tasting too acidic. But a 2022 Clinical Nutrition Insights review showed that high buffering systems in sweet beverages can trigger water retention, headaches, and mild blood pressure spikes in sensitive individuals. Another concern is the brand's use of aged cocoa powder. Bulk retailers often store cocoa for long periods before blending, which allows lipid oxidation to occur. Oxidized cocoa fats create compounds called aldehydes, which researchers in the Food Lipids Journal linked to nausea and throat sharpness when dissolved in hot beverages. Because Giant Eagle outsources its cocoa mixing to different contract facilities, the sweetness-to-cocoa ratio can vary from batch to batch. This variability often results in cups that taste sharp, overly sweet, or strangely metallic. Number 19. Hy-Vee Hot Cocoa. Hy-Vee Hot Cocoa has a very distinct problem: protein isolates disguised as creaminess. Instead of real dairy fats or cocoa butter, Hy-Vee uses a blend of soy protein isolates, sodium caseinate, and glucose syrup solids. A 2020 Digestive Health Review paper showed that soy isolates in hot beverages can cause bloating, cramping, and gas in up to 30% of sensitive individuals due to rapid denaturation at high heat. Another unique angle is Hy-Vee's reliance on spray-dried artificial vanilla compounds. These aren't harmful at normal levels, but when rehydrated in hot water, they release volatile aldehydes, which a 2021 inhalation safety study found can irritate nasal passages for those prone to sinus issues or migraines. Number 18. Harris Teeter Hot Cocoa. Harris Teeter Hot Cocoa's biggest red flag is its stabilized sweetener matrix, a technique where sugar is combined with invert syrups and starch gels before spray drying. A 2019 Journal of Carbohydrate Polymers study found that these hybrid sweeteners break down differently in hot water, leading to rapid glucose absorption, mood dips, and energy crashes. Another distinctive problem is Harris Teeter's use of anti-hygroscopic agents. These are additives that keep the powder from absorbing moisture, but the most common one used in budget cocoa, tricalcium phosphate, has been documented in a 2021 materials safety paper to cause mouth dryness and chalky after effects when used above certain thresholds. The cocoa itself undergoes steam deodorization, a process that washes away bitterness but also strips out flavonols. This creates a cocoa that tastes smoother, but according to a 2020 antioxidant review, it contains almost no natural polyphenols left. Number 17. Meyer Hot Cocoa. Meyer Hot Cocoa has a unique industrial risk: premix sedimentation. In 2022, a Midwest food processing audit found that some private label beverage manufacturers had issues with uneven blending, causing heavy ingredients like minerals or cocoa particles to settle during transport. For consumers, this means your cup may contain unexpectedly high mineral spikes, especially iron, which can cause stomach tightening, nausea, or a metallic taste. Another standout issue is Meyer's use of flavor balancers, compounds meant to mask bitterness by modifying taste receptors. These balancers can overstimulate sweet receptors, and a 2020 Sensory Science review showed that they can cause lingering sweetness, making drinkers crave more sugar afterwards. Meyer's cocoa also often includes microcrystalline cellulose, a texture agent that adds thickness but is indigestible. While considered safe, cellulose-heavy drinks were shown in a 2021 fiber review to cause upper abdominal pressure and delayed gastric emptying in certain individuals. Number 16. Food Lion Hot Cocoa. Food Lion Hot Cocoa looks like a basic winter staple, but the real concern begins with its flavor-based formulation, not the cocoa itself. Food Lion relies on compound cocoa blends, where the chocolate notes come partly from heated carbohydrate-protein reactions instead of real cocoa aroma. A 2021 Food Science review warned that these flavor bases can produce trace reactive carbonyls, compounds that may cause throat warmth, dryness, or mild irritation when consumed hot. Another problem is the brand's use of starch thickeners that break down inconsistently. When rehydrated in boiling water, these thickeners can create small gel clumps that don't fully dissolve. Sensory testing labs classify this as granular phase separation, which may lead to gritty residue and digestive heaviness in some drinkers. Number 15. ShopRite Hot Cocoa. ShopRite Hot Cocoa has a different red flag. Its sweetening system is unusually concentrated, using a combination of fine-grained sucrose and dextrose designed for quick dissolution. A 2020 metabolic nutrition study found that high dextrose cocoa mixes can cause rapid post-drink fatigue, especially in kids, due to steep glucose swings. Another unique issue comes from ShopRite's moisture-binding agents. These ingredients keep the powder fluffy and free-flowing on store shelves, but when mixed with hot water, they can form a thin film on top, a sign of gelatinized carbohydrate residues. Food chemists note that this film can trap aroma compounds, dulling real cocoa flavor and creating a flat, muted cup despite the sweetness. Number 14. Weiss Hot Cocoa. Weiss Hot Cocoa's biggest concern comes from its aging stability. Cocoa mixes that sit for too long under fluorescent lighting, common in older regional grocery stores, undergo photooxidation, a chemical reaction that reduces cocoa pigments and creates mild off-notes. A 2022 storage stability analysis found that photooxidized cocoa can develop slightly stale aromas and subtle bitter edges, which may not be harmful but indicate nutrient breakdown. Weiss also uses a dual emulsifier system, combining lecithin with glycerol-based emulsifiers to maintain creaminess. According to a 2021 emulsification study, this combination can cause frothing inconsistencies, leading to cups that foam excessively or collapse quickly, altering mouthfeel and giving a slightly hollow taste experience. Its sweetening profile relies on dry glucose syrups, which dissolve instantly but create a thin sweetness that doesn't blend smoothly with cocoa compounds. This often leaves the drink tasting sharp rather than rich, which sensory analysts attribute to mismatched flavor release timing. Number 13. Western Family Hot Cocoa. Western Family Hot Cocoa is known for its ultra-low price point, and the formulation reflects that. Its cocoa base often contains high-ash cocoa fractions, a byproduct grade of cocoa with elevated mineral residue. A 2020 Cocoa Processing Bulletin noted that high-ash cocoa produces a chalkier texture and a more dusty chocolate aroma, which is why premium brands avoid it entirely. Western Family also uses spray-dried fat replacements, ingredients designed to replicate creaminess without real fats. These replacements can clump during rehydration, creating opaque streaks in the drink. Food technologists classify this as fat ghosting, a visual sign that the emulsion hasn't formed correctly. Another distinctive issue is the brand's reliance on older filtering technology during cocoa processing. This can leave behind tiny fibrous residues from cocoa shells, which dissolve poorly and can give the drink a faint, papery aftertaste. Not harmful, but far from the smooth cocoa experience consumers expect. Number 12. Price Chopper Hot Cocoa. Price Chopper Hot Cocoa has one major issue that sets it apart: its high-temperature drying process. Many store-brand cocoa powders are spray-dried, but Price Chopper's suppliers use elevated inlet temperatures to speed production. A 2021 thermal food processing analysis found that cocoa exposed to higher than normal drying heat can develop advanced glycation end products compounds linked to inflammation and reduced antioxidant activity. The sweetener system adds another concern. Price Chopper uses fine-grained fructose blends, which dissolve quickly but are metabolized differently than sucrose. Research from the Journal of Clinical Metabolism showed that drinks high in fructose powders may contribute to fatigue, cravings, and impaired satiety, especially when consumed hot. Finally, the cocoa's flavor relies heavily on aroma stabilizers, ingredients that trap scent molecules. When hot water is added, these stabilizers can release unevenly, creating a cup that smells strong at first sip but quickly becomes flat and overly sweet. Number 11. Topps Hot Cocoa. Topps Hot Cocoa has a lesser-known issue: its cocoa fermentation inconsistencies. Cocoa beans must ferment properly to develop a rich flavor, but low-cost suppliers sometimes shorten the process. A 2022 cacao fermentation review found that under-fermented cocoa can carry residual acids and fermentation byproducts that produce a faint sourness and may cause minor stomach discomfort in sensitive drinkers. Another issue is Topps' use of calcium-enhanced anti-caking blends. While safe, these blends can bind to cocoa polyphenols, reducing antioxidant availability. Food chemists refer to this as polyphenol sequestration, a process that blunts the natural nutritional benefits of cocoa. Sweetness-wise, the mix relies on double-milled sugar, which dissolves almost instantly. This sounds good, but it often causes a sweetness spike followed by a flavor drop-off, a sensory imbalance noted in multiple consumer tests. Number 10. Dollar Tree Greenbrier Hot Cocoa. Dollar Tree's Greenbrier Hot Cocoa may be affordable, but the trade-off lies in its low-quality bulking ingredients. Instead of relying on real cocoa density, it uses starch fillers and bulk carbohydrate powders to mimic thickness. A 2021 Food Structuring Science report showed that such fillers can create gel-like residues that feel heavy in the stomach and slow digestion. The cocoa itself undergoes deep alkalization, a cost-saving method that strips bitterness but also removes the majority of natural flavonols, the compounds responsible for cocoa's health benefits. Deep alkalization often turns cocoa into a product with more color than nutrition. Even more concerning, Greenbrier uses old-style stabilizer systems that contain sodium aluminosilicate blends. While within legal limits, these blends were flagged in a 2020 materials safety briefing for causing mouth dryness and chalkiness in powdered drink mixes. Number 9. Clover Valley Hot Cocoa. Clover Valley Hot Cocoa has a unique manufacturing concern: flavor carryover from reused industrial equipment. Low-cost contract manufacturers often produce multiple flavored beverages on the same line, and a 2022 beverage processing audit noted that cocoa mixes from these facilities can carry trace flavor residues from previous batches, anything from vanilla to caramel to even fruity notes. Not harmful, but definitely not intentional. Clover Valley also uses reconstituted whey powders that are high in lactose crystallization. When hot water hits the mix, these crystals can form microclumps, creating a sandy texture. Sensory panels classify this as a chalk-snap mouthfeel, common in low-cost cocoa blends. The sweetness system is dominated by rapidly dissolving dextrose, which creates a very sweet initial sip but leaves the aftertaste hollow. A 2021 sweetness perception study showed that drinks high in dextrose often cause lingering dryness and encourage repeated sipping to chase sweetness. Number 8. Family Dollar Hot Cocoa. Family Dollar Hot Cocoa seems like a simple budget pick, but the biggest issue hiding in this mix is its oversimplified cocoa base. Many ultra-low-cost powders skip the traditional multi-stage cocoa refinement process and instead use compressed cocoa fines, tiny leftover particles collected at the end of industrial milling. A 2021 Cocoa Particle Technology review noted that these fines often contain higher fiber fragments and residual shell dust, which can create a faint cardboard-like taste and may irritate sensitive stomachs. The mix also relies heavily on instant bulking carbohydrates, which dissolve quickly but release sweetness faster than cocoa can balance it. Sensory tests find this creates a front-loaded sweetness, making the first sip sugary, but the rest of the cup flat and thin. Even more distinct is Family Dollar's use of entry-level emulsifiers, which don't disperse well in very hot water. This causes small pockets of dry powder or foam to collapse, a clear sign of poor emulsifier performance. Number 7. Cinnabon Hot Chocolate. Cinnabon's grocery hot chocolate leans heavily on its famous bakery aroma, but the science behind that flavor profile is where concerns arise. The signature smell comes from synthetic cinnamic aldehyde blends, which are far more intense than natural cinnamon oil. A 2020 flavor chemistry and safety study found that concentrated cinnamic aldehyde vapors can cause temporary throat irritation when inhaled with steam, something especially noticeable in hot drinks. Another problem is Cinnabon's use of high aroma fat coatings. These coatings melt in hot water to release flavor, but they're made from fractionated palm stearin, a waxy fat that can feel heavy on digestion. Nutrition researchers have linked frequent consumption of stearin-rich powdered beverages to sluggish gastric emptying, which can leave drinkers feeling unusually full or bloated. Lastly, the cocoa portion is surprisingly mild, intentionally toned down so the cinnamon-inspired aroma dominates. The result is a drink that smells indulgent but relies heavily on chemical aroma construction, not real cocoa depth. Number 6. Dunkin' Hot Chocolate Mix. Dunkin's grocery hot chocolate has a completely different issue: its coffeehouse-style sweetness platform. Instead of traditional sugar, Dunkin' uses a blend designed to mimic the sweetness curve of coffee drinks. This system mixes invert sugar, glucose syrup solids, and fine sucrose, which a 2022 sweetener interaction report found can trigger roller coaster sweetness perception, extra sweet first, then oddly hollow. The cocoa itself is mild and intentionally low in bitterness because Dunkin' calibrates flavors for people used to creamy coffee drinks. To achieve that smoothness, the mix includes milk derivative creamers treated with enzymes to increase solubility. These enzyme-modified dairy powders sometimes leave a slightly sour afternote, something sensory panels identify as a byproduct of enzymatic breakdown. A final concern is Dunkin's use of foaming agents meant to mimic cafe-style steamed milk. These agents can create a bubbly top layer that collapses fast, leaving behind a thin, watery cup, a common complaint among consumers. It smells like a cafe treat, but its engineered sweetness and unstable froth make the experience uneven and overly processed. Number 5. Tim Hortons Hot Cocoa Mix. Tim Hortons Hot Cocoa Mix carries a surprisingly different issue: its reliance on beverage whitener, a creamer category widely used in Canadian-style mixes. Beverage whitener isn't just dairy powder. It's a blend of vegetable fats, corn syrup solids, sodium caseinate, and anti-caking phosphates. A 2021 Canadian Food Formulations review noted that these whiteners can reduce cocoa's natural bitterness, but also create a dry, powdery finish in hot drinks. Another distinctive concern is Tim Hortons' use of medium roasted cocoa, which is roasted just enough to reduce acidity, but not long enough to deepen flavor. This middle roast can leave the cocoa tasting muted and one-dimensional, especially once sweeteners are added. Tim Hortons mixes also commonly include flavor-rounding agents, compounds that soften sharp notes but can sometimes create a faint buttery aftertaste unrelated to real cocoa. Sensory analysts call this effect flavor-smoothing distortion. It softens the drink but takes away authenticity. Number 4. Starbucks Hot Cocoa Mix. Starbucks Hot Cocoa Mix carries the same premium aura as its cafe drinks, but the packaged version relies on a very different formula. One of the biggest issues is its use of aroma-driven cocoa, a process where cocoa is lightly roasted for scent rather than depth. A 2021 roast chemistry review found that aroma-focused roasting can leave cocoa underdeveloped, meaning you get sweetness and smell, but thin chocolate character and fewer natural antioxidants. Another concern is Starbucks' dependency on high-impact alkalizers. These ingredients flatten the acidity of cocoa, but also reduce flavanol levels, the compounds responsible for cocoa's cardiovascular benefits. Lab testing, published in Food Analysis Trends, revealed that alkalized cocoa can lose up to 80% of its original flavanol activity. Because Starbucks positions itself as a premium cafe brand, many consumers expect a rich, layered chocolate experience. Still, the grocery mix is built more around sweetness, aroma oils, and smoothness agents than real cocoa intensity. Number 3. McCafe Hot Cocoa Mix. McCafe Hot Cocoa Mix aims to mimic the creamy drinks served in McDonald's cafes, but the at-home version relies on a cream simulation system rather than actual dairy richness. The mix uses modified milk ingredients, which include enzyme-treated milk powders designed to dissolve instantly. A 2020 Dairy Ingredient Technology report noted that these modified powders often create a slightly metallic aftertaste due to protein breakdown during enzymatic processing. McCafe's cocoa is also formulated for fast flavor release, which works well in drive-thru drinks, but can make the at-home mix taste oddly front-loaded, very sweet and chocolatey at first, then unexpectedly watery by mid-cup. Sensory labs refer to this as flavor collapse, a common issue in fast-dissolving cocoa systems. Adding to this, McCafe uses stability enhancers that keep the drink from separating, but these can give the cocoa a gel-like thickness rather than a creamy one. Number 2. Godiva Hot Cocoa Mix. Godiva's name screams luxury, but its everyday grocery hot cocoa is surprisingly ordinary behind the gold packaging. The issue starts with sweetener dominance. The formula contains significantly more sugar than cocoa. In fact, industry analysts have noted that Godiva's sweetened mix leans heavily on fine-grained sucrose to create instant richness, which can mask the fact that the cocoa itself is relatively mild. The chocolate flavor comes from lightly processed cocoa liquor powders, which offer aroma but very little bitterness or depth. A 2022 Premium Cocoa evaluation found that light liquor cocos tend to taste more like candy than real drinking chocolate, losing the layered notes that define true premium blends. Another concern is Godiva's use of flavor smoothing agents, which artificially round off bitterness to create a silky finish. While not harmful, these agents can leave a slightly waxy-coated mouthfeel, something sensory testers frequently observe in premium-style mixes that rely on textural additives. Number 1. Cadbury Drinking Chocolate. Cadbury Drinking Chocolate is beloved around the world, but the US retail import version is noticeably different from the UK or EU originals, and not for the better. The imported blend is reformulated for American grocery standards, often using reduced cocoa powders that contain less natural fat. When cocoa fat is reduced too much, research from Cocoa Lipid Structures shows a significant drop in richness and cream stability. Another issue unique to imported mixes is cross-continental shelf time. Many US Cadbury pouches sit in shipping or warehouse environments for months before reaching stores. This prolonged storage can lead to aroma flattening, the slow evaporation of cocoa volatiles that give real chocolate its deep smell and flavor. Finally, the US version often includes additional sweeteners and anti-caking agents not present in the UK blend. These ingredients aren't unsafe, but they can dull the classic Cadbury flavor and create a slightly powdery finish that fans of the authentic version will immediately notice. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Not every hot chocolate mix is loaded with heavy metals, artificial flavors, and chemical additives. Some brands are actually clean, simple, and made with real cocoa, like, for example, Number 10. Navitas Organics Cacao Powder. Navitas Organics has earned a strong reputation in the clean food world, and its cacao powder shows exactly why. Unlike conventional cocoa mixes, Navitas uses non-alkalized cacao, which means the beans are minimally processed and retain their natural antioxidant profile. A 2022 analysis in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that non-alkalized cacao preserves up to 4 times more flavonols, compounds linked to heart health and improved circulation. Navitas also screens its cacao using heavy metal testing protocols common in the organic superfood industry. While no cacao powder is ever 100% metal-free, Navitas consistently ranks among the lowest risk options in third-party audits because of its careful sourcing from vetted, smallholder farms with better soil management practices. There are no fillers, no emulsifiers, no dairy powders, and no artificial flavorings, just pure cacao. This purity gives the powder a naturally deep, slightly fruity flavor that blends beautifully whether you add it to warm milk, smoothies, or baking. Number 9. Lake Champlain Organic Hot Chocolate. Lake Champlain's hot chocolate stands out because it behaves more like a true drinking chocolate than a typical cocoa mix. Made with organic cocoa, organic sugar, and real fair trade vanilla, the ingredient list is intentionally short, and that simplicity is a strength. Their cocoa is lightly processed and never over-alkalized, preserving the natural flavor and micronutrients that make chocolate feel rich instead of sugary. What really sets Lake Champlain apart is its Vermont-based small batch production. Instead of relying on mass-scale industrial blending, they produce cocoa in controlled batches, each undergoing strict quality checks for aroma, flavor, consistency, and purity. A 2020 Kraft Chocolate Standards report highlighted Lake Champlain as one of the few chocolatiers maintaining microbial, heavy metal, and sensory testing comparable to European artisan manufacturers. Number 8. Equal Exchange Organic Cocoa. Equal Exchange doesn't just focus on taste. It focuses on ethical, clean, traceable cocoa. Every batch comes from small farmer co-ops in Latin America and Africa, all grown under organic certification. Because these farms maintain soil rotation practices, studies show they tend to have lower natural cadmium accumulation than high-volume plantations. Equal Exchange's processing avoids heavy alkalization and skips chemical flavor enhancers entirely. Their cocoa powder retains strong polyphenol and magnesium levels, which a 2021 nutritional review associated with improved mood and metabolic balance. The brand also performs third-party purity testing, giving consumers confidence in both safety and ingredient integrity. The flavor profile is noticeably more complex, slightly earthy, and somewhat floral because it isn't stripped, deodorized, or flattened by industrial roasting. Number 7. Nibmore Organic Drinking Chocolate. Nibmore creates a drinking chocolate that feels closer to European-style sipping chocolate than American cocoa mixes. Their organic cacao is minimally processed, meaning the natural cocoa butter remains intact, giving the drink a velvet-like richness without artificial creamers or stabilizers. One reason Nibmore is considered safe is its commitment to low-intervention processing. Instead of using enzyme-modified dairy powders or instantizing agents, the brand relies on simple, whole food ingredients. A 2021 Clean Label Cocoa survey placed Nibmore among the top no-additive drinking chocolates due to its absence of emulsifiers, flow agents, and synthetic flavorings. Nibmore also conducts purity screening for heavy metals, a growing concern in cacao products. Their sourcing strategy focuses on regions with naturally lower cadmium levels, and small farm fermentation practices help maintain clean flavor without off-notes. Number 6. Four Sigmatic Cacao Mix. Four Sigmatic takes hot chocolate in a functional direction, pairing organic cacao with ingredients like reishi, chaga, or lion's mane, depending on the blend. These mushrooms are processed through dual extraction, a method highlighted in a 2020 Functional Medicine review for preserving beneficial beta-glucans and polysaccharides that support immunity and stress balance. Their cacao is sourced from certified organic farms and undergoes light roasting, avoiding deep alkalization that strips antioxidants. Four Sigmatic also uses coconut sugar instead of refined sugars, offering a lower glycemic response, a benefit supported by glycemic index research comparing coconut sugar to sucrose. What makes the brand especially safe is its emphasis on third-party toxin testing. Their mushroom extracts are screened for heavy metals, mold, and microbial contaminants, testing that goes above standard cocoa requirements. There are no gums, no emulsifiers, and no synthetic flavors. Number 5. Alter Eco Super Dark Drinking Chocolate. Alter Eco's Super Dark Drinking Chocolate stands out because it is one of the few hot chocolate products built around real dark chocolate shavings, not alkalized cocoa powder. This means you're getting naturally retained cocoa butter, cacao polyphenols, and deep aromatic flavor, without needing fillers or added emulsifiers. The chocolate is organic, fair trade certified, and sourced from regenerative farms, an important detail because regenerative soil systems tend to show lower heavy metal accumulation compared to overworked plantations, according to a 2021 soil quality study. Alter Eco melts smoothly because its fat profile comes from pure cocoa butter, not palm fats or powdered creamers. No artificial sweeteners, no stabilizers, no processed dairy, just authentic chocolate with organic coconut sugar for gentle sweetness. The result is a drink that tastes bold and complex, with the natural bitterness of true dark chocolate balanced by clean, caramel-like notes. Number 4. Guittard Cocoa Rouge. Guittard's Cocoa Rouge is one of the rare cocoa powders in the U.S. market, produced using precision roasting, a method chocolate makers use to preserve aromatic compounds while preventing scorch or bitterness. This gives Cocoa Rouge a remarkably smooth, red-brown cocoa character, while keeping processing minimal. The GitHard family uses direct trade partnerships with farms that undergo soil testing and fermentation audits, which helps avoid the cadmium spikes commonly seen in large-scale commodity cocoa. Unlike many premium brands that rely on heavy alkalization for color, Coco Rouge achieves its intense hue through controlled fermentation and careful roasting, allowing the cocoa to retain a higher proportion of natural flavonoids. The ingredient list is just one thing: cocoa powder. No anti-caking agents, no dairy solids, no artificial flavors. Number 3. Taza Chocolate Mexicano. Taza Chocolate Mexicano delivers a drinking chocolate experience closer to traditional stone-ground cacao than any conventional powder. Instead of over-processing the beans, Taza uses a stone milling technique that preserves natural cocoa texture, aroma oils, and antioxidant content. Because the cocoa is minimally refined, it avoids the harsh alkalization steps that strip nutrients and introduce processing residues in many mainstream brands. Taza's ingredient list is exceptionally clean: organic cacao, organic cane sugar, and natural spices, depending on the variety. No emulsifiers, no stabilizers, no milk powders, and no synthetic flavors. These discs melt into a cup with an authentically rustic profile, slightly gritty, richly aromatic, and deeply chocolatey. Most importantly, Taza sources cacao through a direct trade program, which includes yearly farm audits for fermentation quality, labor standards, and purity checks. This keeps the cocoa's natural character intact and reduces contamination risks. Number 2. Elements Truffles Drinking Chocolate. Elements Truffles takes a wellness-driven approach to hot chocolate, blending raw cacao with Ayurvedic ingredients like turmeric, cardamom, and ashwagandha, depending on the flavor. Their cacao is unalkalized and sourced from farms that undergo heavy metal monitoring, making it a safer choice for those specifically avoiding cadmium-dense cocoa powders. Because the cacao is raw or gently roasted, it retains natural enzymes and polyphenols associated with antioxidant support. Sweetening comes from pure, raw honey rather than refined sugar or syrups, giving the drink a lower glycemic impact and a clean, floral sweetness. There are no gums, no emulsifiers, no powdered creamers, and absolutely no synthetic flavors. Each batch is handmade in small quantities, allowing the brand to maintain precise quality control and avoid the inconsistencies common in mass-market cocoa. Number 1. Rocca Drinking Chocolate. Rocca is known for its signature unroasted chocolate, a method unique in the premium cocoa world. By skipping the roasting step entirely, Rocca preserves the cacao bean's natural fruity brightness and its full spectrum of polyphenols. A 2020 antioxidant analysis on unroasted cacao showed notably higher flavanol retention compared to standard roasted cocoa, making Rocca one of the most nutrient-preserving drinking chocolates on the market. Rocca sources cacao through its transparent trade program, publishing exact farm partnerships and payment structures, a level of sourcing honesty extremely rare in the chocolate industry. Their drinking chocolate contains only organic cacao, organic cane sugar, and natural flavor inclusions like sea salt or spices, depending on the blend. No alkalization, no fillers, no dairy solids, and no artificial anything.